In 1977, Cheap Trick was over $1 million in debt. Their first two albums had sold barely 20,000 copies combined. Epic Records was ready to drop them. But while American audiences ignored them, their albums were quietly selling 5 times better in Japan. A market most bands completely overlooked. Within 18 months of touring Japan, they had a triple platinum album that sold over 3.6 million copies. This is the story of how 4 desperate musicians from Illinois discovered a $100 million opportunity that the entire music industry had missed. Epic Records had invested $75,000 into Cheap Trick's first 2 albums. Their self-titled debut sold just 21,880 copies. Their second album, In Color, did slightly better at 36,450 copies. But touring was driving them deeper into debt. Playing over 200 shows per year, they were losing money on every gig. By 1978, their debt had hit $1.2 million. Epic Records was ready to cut their losses, while critics praised them, with Rolling Stone calling them an explosive debut. It didn't translate to sales. Their label demanded either a hit single or significant cost cuts. But producer Tom Werman saw something others missed. Their unique blend of hard rock power and pop melodies was connecting in unexpected ways, particularly in overlooked international markets. In 1978, while American record companies focused on domestic success, CBS saw Sony was quietly revolutionizing the music industry in Japan. Their strategy was brilliantly simple. Record every major international act at the Budokan, creating a series of live albums specifically for the Japanese market. The numbers showed why. Japan had become the world's second-largest music market, with foreign artists accounting for 40% of all record sales. CBS/Sony's approach was methodical. They increased their partnerships with foreign labels from 206 in 1977 to 226 in 1978. Each international act received dedicated marketing campaigns, specialized merchandise, and targeted promotion. This wasn't just about selling records. It was about building a sustainable pipeline of Western talent for the Japanese market. The Budokan itself was central to this strategy. Originally built for the 1964 Olympics at a cost of 2 billion yen, it had transformed into rock's ultimate proving ground. CBS/Sony's investment in state-of-the-art recording equipment and experienced engineers like Tamu Suzuki ensured they could capture the raw energy of live performances while maintaining pristine sound quality. For Cheap Trick, this corporate strategy would prove life-changing. While other American bands saw Japan as an afterthought, Sony saw potential in their unique blend of hard rock power and pop accessibility. The label's Japanese executives recognized something their American counterparts had missed. Cheap Trick's visual contrast between Rick Nielsen's cartoonish presence and Robin Zander's rock star looks would resonate perfectly with Japanese audiences. While other struggling bands chased American radio hits, Cheap Trick saw an opportunity in the numbers. Their first 2 albums were selling 5 times better in Japan than America, despite no promotion or touring. When Sony offered to bring them to Japan, most American bands would have declined. The touring costs alone could bankrupt them if things went wrong. But Cheap Trick ran the calculations differently. They were already losing money playing American clubs. A Japanese tour might be risky, but staying home meant certain failure. But breaking into Japan wasn't simple. The language barrier, cultural differences, and sheer cost of touring made it a risky proposition. Most American bands preferred the familiar territory of US clubs and European tours. The few who did venture to Japan usually waited until they had established domestic success first. Cheap Trick, however, saw something different. Their unique image, Nielsen's quirky persona contrasting with Zander's rock star looks, seemed tailor-made for Japanese audiences. Their music struck a perfect balance between hard rock power and pop accessibility. While other bands tried to copy Led Zeppelin or the Eagles, Cheap Trick had created something that could translate across cultural boundaries. When a tour offer for Japan landed on their desk, the band faced a difficult choice. They were already drowning in debt, and mounting an international tour seemed financially impossible. But with pressure mounting from Epic Records and no breakthrough in sight at home, they realized this might be their last shot at survival. Instead of just booking flights and hoping for the best, Cheap Trick approached the opportunity with unprecedented dedication. They studied Japanese culture and customs. They learned basic phrases to communicate with fans. They even researched successful Japanese pop music to understand local tastes. This wasn't just another tour. It was a carefully planned invasion of an untapped market. As they boarded their flight to Tokyo, the band members carried equal measures of hope and desperation. They had invested everything in this gamble, both financially and emotionally. What awaited them in Japan would exceed their wildest dreams and change the music industry forever. When Cheap Trick's plane touched down in Tokyo, they stepped into a world where they were already superstars. 5,000 screaming fans mobbed the airport, waving signs and chanting the band's name. For musicians used to playing half-empty American clubs, this reception was surreal. Rick Nielsen, still jet-lagged, thought there must be another band arriving. The crowd response was incredible. He later recalled, "It was so loud, it was almost frightening." Japanese media coverage was unprecedented. 47 magazine covers in 1 month, daily television appearances, and radio stations playing their entire catalog hourly. Record stores couldn't keep imports in stock, creating a black market where fans paid up to 12,000 yen $60 for American copies. This wasn't just media hype. Japanese fans had discovered Cheap Trick's first 3 records on their own, spreading the word about this unique American band that mixed hard rock power with irresistible pop hooks. Their first show in Fukuoka set the tone. The moment Rick Nielsen hit his first power chord, the audience erupted. Tom Peterson's thundering 12-string bass shook the arena. When Robin Zander's voice soared over Bunny Carlos's driving beat, the crowd sang along to every word in perfect English. The band had never experienced anything like it. The tour numbers were staggering. Nagoya's 8,000-seat venue sold out in 2 hours. Osaka demanded 3 additional shows, and Tokyo's scalpers charged 25,000 yen, $125 for front-row seats. Their first 3 albums, which had struggled to sell 200,000 copies combined in America, moved over 1.5 million units in Japan during the tour. Even their merchandising, usually an afterthought for touring bands, became a phenomenon. Japanese fans bought everything with Cheap Trick's name on it. Tour merchandise alone generated over $100,000 in the first week, more than their entire U.S. merchandise revenue from the previous year. CBS/Sony, recognizing something special was happening, made a crucial decision. They would record Cheap Trick shows at the prestigious Nippon Budokan for a special live album. The Budokan wasn't just another venue. It was Japan's most revered concert hall, a temple of martial arts that had become rock's ultimate proving ground. Since the Beatles played there in 1966, the stakes were enormous. On April 28, 1978, 12,000 fans packed the Budokan. The band knew these recordings could make or break their career. CBS/Sony deployed unprecedented resources. 3 mobile recording trucks, 24-track recording systems, and backup generators costing 15 million yen. The label's investment paid off as the crowd's response peaked at 121 decibels, nearly overloading the state-of-the-art equipment. Cheap Trick hadn't just conquered Japan. They had tapped into something that would soon echo around the world. As the tapes rolled at the Budokan, capturing what would become one of rock's legendary live albums, no one realized they were witnessing the birth of a whole new approach to international success in the music industry. The Nippon Budokan wasn't just another concert venue. Originally built for the 1964 Olympics, it had become Japan's most prestigious stage. As 12,000 fans filed in on April 28, 1978, Japanese engineer Tomu Suzuki faced a unique challenge: capturing what would become one of rock's most iconic live albums. CBS/Sony deployed 3 mobile recording trucks with 24-track systems, technology typically reserved for major studio albums. Tom Peterson's innovative 12-string bass, a Hamer quad, that gave the band its distinctive sound, proved almost impossible to record. Despite engineer Tomu Suzuki's expertise, nearly all of Peterson's bass parts would need to be redone in post-production at the record plant in New York. The setup included multiple mobile recording trucks to capture every instrument with pristine clarity while maintaining the raw energy of the performance. This level of technical investment in a live recording was unprecedented for an unproven American band. Producer Jack Douglas, known for his work with Aerosmith and John Lennon, recognized the potential in these recordings. Working with Rick Nielsen and Bunny Carlos, he began shaping the raw energy of those nights into something that could captivate audiences worldwide. Some of Robin Zander's guitar parts needed touching up, and background vocals required adjustment. But the goal was clear: preserve the electricity of the live performance. The decision to record wasn't just luck. CBS/Sony was creating a series of livid Budokan albums for their Epic and Columbia artists. But something different was happening with Cheap Trick's performances. The audience's response was unprecedented. Their screaming nearly drowned out the band at times. Even the seasoned recording team had never heard anything like it. When the final notes faded on April 30th, everyone knew something extraordinary had happened. But no one, not even CBS/Sony's executives, could have predicted what would happen when those tapes made their way back to America. Epic Records' strategy shifted dramatically. While American acts typically earned 8% royalties on Japanese releases, Cheap Trick negotiated 15%, setting a new industry standard. Their success forced other labels to revise their Asian market strategies, with CBS/Sony increasing their international artist budget by $12 million for 1979. As Cheap Trick's plane touched down in America, the roar of Japanese fans still ringing in their ears, they faced a familiar silence. The band that had just conquered Tokyo couldn't fill a bar in Peoria. But they had a secret weapon: the Budokan tapes. Epic Records initially balked at releasing a live album in America. William Biff Kennedy, a local Epic promotion manager, saw the opportunity everyone else missed. He convinced the label to release a limited 7-song promotional sampler called From Tokyo to You to radio stations. The response was immediate. DJs started playing tracks from the Japanese import, and demand exploded. Something unprecedented happened. Before Epic could release the album officially, an estimated 30,000 Japanese imports found their way into American hands. Record stores couldn't keep them in stock. The album became the best-selling import of the year, with fans paying premium prices just to get their hands on a copy. While regular imports sold for $8.99, stores were charging up to $30 for Japanese copies of At Budokan. And fans were gladly paying it. By February 1979, Epic had no choice but to release At Budokan in America. The album didn't just succeed. It transformed Cheap Trick from struggling club act to arena headliners. I Want You to Want Me, which had barely made a dent in its studio version, soared to number 7 on the Billboard charts. The live album climbed to number 4 and stayed on the charts for over a year. The final sales figures were staggering. At Budokan sold over 3.6 million copies in America alone, far beyond anything Epic had projected. By 1980, Cheap Trick was performing 75 concerts across the United States, headlining the same arenas they couldn't fill just 2 years earlier. A live album recorded for the Japanese market had become one of the best-selling live albums in American history. But more than just album sales, Cheap Trick had done something unprecedented. They'd shown the entire music industry a new path to success. The band that once struggled to get noticed in their hometown had found a back door to American stardom through Japan. The industry would never be the same, as Budokan dominated the charts, a quiet revolution swept through the music industry's boardrooms. Before Cheap Trick's breakthrough, labels viewed international markets as afterthoughts. Japan, despite being the world's second-largest music market, was often overlooked by Western acts and their management teams. The success of Budokan forced record executives to reassess their entire approach to global markets. The numbers were undeniable. A live album recorded for Japanese fans had sold over 3.6 million copies in America alone. Japan wasn't just a place to tour after achieving domestic success. It could be a launchpad for international stardom. The financial impact of Cheap Trick's strategy reshaped how record companies valued international markets. By 1980, the numbers were staggering. Billy Joel's Japanese sales topped 250,000 per album with zero promotion. Queen's 1979 Japan tour grossed $3.8 million across 12 cities. Kiss's Budokan album generated $4.2 million in its first month. Bob Dylan's Japanese concert fees jumped from $65,000 to $175,000 per show. The template was clear: build an audience in Japan first, then leverage that success globally. CBS/Sony's international division budget jumped from $8 million to $20 million. Other labels rushed to follow, creating dedicated Asian market teams and raising Japanese touring advances from $25,000 to $100,000 per week. The market Cheap Trick discovered was now reshaping the entire industry. Major labels revamped their international divisions. The practice of treating foreign markets as an afterthought ended. CBS/Sony's success with Cheap Trick led them to create dedicated international A&R teams focused on identifying acts with global potential. Other labels quickly followed suit. Cheap Trick's decision to tour Japan in 1978 proved to be more than just a career-saving gamble. What started as a desperate move by a band over $1 million in debt transformed into one of rock's greatest success stories. Their live album, Budokan, moved over 3.6 million copies in America alone, launching them from playing empty bars to headlining arenas. The impact extended far beyond album sales. Cheap Trick's success opened new doors for the entire music industry, encouraging other artists to look beyond traditional markets. Their triumph showed that sometimes the biggest opportunities lie where others fear to tread. The band that couldn't get arrested in their hometown had revolutionized how the music industry approached global success. By 1980, Cheap Trick was grossing over $100,000 per show in America, performing 75 arena concerts plus international dates that brought in even higher per-show revenue. Their success inspired a new industry playbook: build an audience in Japan first, then leverage that success back home. What started as a desperate gamble had become the blueprint for breaking into the American market through the back door and making millions in the process.